There is a liquid that costs exactly $1 and kills every known strain of toenail fungus permanently. Not masks it, not treats the symptoms, not manages the spread, it terminates the infection at the molecular level. 1,200 years before the first pharmaceutical company was ever incorporated, healers were using this exact oxygen-rich compound to ensure that infections never took root in the human body. Yet today you are told you need $300 prescriptions, liver-damaging pills, and monthly laser appointments that never seem to finish the job. The industry did not stop using this method because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well, it was too cheap to meter, too simple to patent, and far too effective to allow for a lifetime of repeat customers. This is the story of the miracle water, the $1 solution that empires used to keep their armies marching and that modern corporations prayed you would finally forget. The antifungal industry has a secret that it spends $24 billion a year to protect. That secret is not a new molecule or a breakthrough laser. It is a business model based on the perpetual patient. When you walk into a clinic with a thickened, yellowed nail, you are not seen as a person to be cured. You are seen as a 30-year annuity. The creams they sell you for $80 a tube do not kill the fungus. They merely suppress the surface growth, ensuring that the moment you stop paying, the infection returns. They have built a regulatory wall around a problem that nature solved eons ago. They did not stop using this $1 method because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. A solution that costs less than a bottle of water and terminates a pathogen in 14 days cannot be turned into a quarterly earnings report. What cannot be metered cannot be monetized, and what cannot be patented, like the very air we breathe, must be erased from the public consciousness. They priced this knowledge out of your awareness, replacing a permanent cure with a lifetime subscription to failure. Long before the first sterile laboratory was ever built, and 2,400 years before the first medical license was issued in the West, humans had already decoded the secret to stopping cellular decay. They didn't call it antifungal therapy, they called it the breath of life. In the high, arid plateaus of the Andes, the Incan healers, the Kalawaya, observed a curious phenomenon. When certain natural bubbling springs occurred after lightning storms, the water possessed a unique aggressive vitality. They would soak the feet of their messengers, men who ran hundreds of miles across damp tropical terrain in these specific pools. They didn't understand the chemistry of oxygen saturation yet, but they understood the result. The rot that claimed the feet of lesser men could not survive this water. By the time the Roman legions were marching across the damp, marshy forests of Germania, the problem of trenchfoot and fungal decay was a matter of national security. A soldier who cannot stand cannot fight. Roman archives suggest that military surgeons used a primitive version of reactive water, distilled through a specific heating and cooling process, to bathe the feet of the infantry. This wasn't a luxury, it was a military necessity. They found that by introducing active air into the water, the yellowing of the nails and the cracking of the skin simply vanished. In the mid-19th century, this ancient wisdom was finally formalized by the giants of early surgery. Sir Joseph Lister, the father of modern antisepsis, and the legendary French chemist Louis Pasteur both documented a specific oxidizing agent that was so powerful it could dissolve the cellular wall of a pathogen while leaving human tissue untouched. In 1888, the first medical paper was published on this miracle water, documenting its use in treating everything from gangrene to deep-seated fungal infections. Every civilization with access to clean water and the knowledge of oxidative force arrived at the same conclusion independently. From the Ayurvedic practitioners in India using pranic water to the 19th century European surgeons, the consensus was absolute. That is not folklore, that is convergent chemistry. The records of the British Royal Navy in the early 1900s show that sailors, trapped in damp leather boots for months at a time, were issued a cleansing tonic that cost the crown less than a penny per gallon. It was a clear, odorless liquid that looked like water, but acted like fire against fungi. They did not have $150 tubes of terbinafine. They had a law of physics. They had a compound that released pure oxygen directly into the fungal spore, causing it to implode. For over 2,000 years, humans have known that high-energy oxygen is the natural enemy of decay. No industry can erase a law of physics. They can only make you forget it exists. They can only bury the journals of men like Lister and the practices of the Kalawaya under a mountain of synthetic, patentable chemicals. But the chemistry hasn't changed. The fungus hasn't evolved a way to survive. And the price, despite what the lobbyists want you to believe, is still exactly what it was when the Romans used it, essentially free. To understand why this $1 solution is a lethal threat to the pharmaceutical industry, you have to understand the molecular warfare happening under your nail bed. Fungus is not a skin condition. It is a biological parasite that thrives in an anaerobic or oxygen-deprived environment. It hides beneath the nail plate because that is where the oxygen cannot reach. The compound we are discussing is structurally identical to water, with one devastating difference. While water is H2O, this formula contains a volatile extra atom, making it H2O2. That single unstable oxygen atom is the most powerful natural disinfectant in the known universe. In the world of biochemistry, this is called oxidative stress. When this liquid touches a fungal spore, it doesn't just clean it. It induces a process known as lytic explosion. The extra oxygen atom is looking for a place to land, and the protein-rich cell wall of the fungus is the perfect target. As the oxygen atom detaches from the water molecule, it creates a microscopic fizzing reaction. To you, it looks like tiny bubbles. To the fungus, it is a series of molecular depth charges. A 2014 study conducted at the University of Michigan confirmed that high-level oxidative agents don't just slow down fungal growth. They cause the cellular membrane to undergo lipid peroxidation. Essentially, the oxygen melts the fat and protein that hold the fungus together. This is a mechanical reaction, not a chemical one. This is why, unlike expensive prescription pills like Lamisil, the fungus cannot become immune to it. You cannot become immune to being blown apart from the inside out. The mainstream alternative, those $150 synthetic lacquers, work by trying to poison the fungus slowly. But the fungus is smart. It hibernates. It builds a biofilm that the poison cannot penetrate. This $1 compound, however, uses the extra atom to dissolve the biofilm itself. It uses the fungus's own environment against it. The science is settled. The mechanism is documented in every chemistry textbook on the planet. But you will never find this mechanism mentioned in a podiatry brochure. Why? Because you cannot patent a law of thermodynamics. You cannot create a 20-year monopoly on a molecule that nature produces every time it rains. The science was always there. It was just quietly moved from the treatment section of the medical curriculum to the industrial cleaning section, where they hoped you'd never think to look. The podiatry and antifungal market is a $24 billion machine that relies on one thing: your failure to heal. If you heal for $1, the machine starves. This is why, in 1947, a massive shift occurred in how we treat the human body. Following World War II, the chemical industry, led by giants like DuPont and early pharmaceutical conglomerates, realized that the miracle water used in the trenches was a threat to their post-war expansion. They had spent millions developing synthetic, patentable sulfur drugs and early antibiotics. A solution that anyone could buy at a general store for pennies was not a product. It was a competitor that needed to be neutralized. Between 1947 and 1955, references to oxidative therapy for topical infections began to vanish from medical school curricula. They didn't ban it, they simply stopped teaching it. They replaced it with proprietary pharmacology. The strategy was simple: rebranding. They took the active mechanism of oxygenation, weakened it, trapped it in expensive petroleum-based gels, and gave it a trade name you couldn't pronounce. Today, when you buy a $40 antifungal pen at the drugstore, you are paying a 4,000% markup on a diluted version of the same chemistry the Romans used. They tell you that natural methods are primitive or dangerous, while they lobby to rewrite safety codes that favor synthetic compounds. Why? Because you cannot patent a molecule that has existed since the dawn of time. You cannot create a monopoly on H2O2. They want you dependent on the revolving door of treatment. They want you to buy the cream, which thins the skin, which leads to a secondary infection, which requires a prescription pill, which requires a liver enzyme test. It is a closed loop of profit. The markup is not on the skill of the doctor or the quality of the medicine. The markup is on your ignorance of what happened in 1947. You have been paying luxury prices for a suppressed law of nature. Here is exactly what this miracle water is. And when I tell you, you are going to feel one of two things: either relieved or furious, possibly both. Hydrogen peroxide. Specifically, the standard 3% food grade or USP solution found in every brown plastic bottle at every grocery store and pharmacy on the planet. That is it. That is what Sir Joseph Lister called the ultimate purifier. That is what the Kalawaya sought in the lightning-charged springs of the Andes. That is the H2O2 molecule that creates the extra atom lytic explosion we discussed in the science section. You can buy a 32-ounce bottle for exactly $1. Compare that to a $150 prescription of Jublia, or a $900 laser treatment that fundamentally uses the same principle of oxidative stress to achieve the same result. The markup is not on the chemistry, it is on your ignorance of the 1947 burial. Here's the exact protocol. This is not a suggestion, this is a mechanical process. The preparation: purchase a fresh bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide. Do not use an old bottle that has been sitting open in your cabinet. The extra atom is volatile and escapes over time, leaving you with just plain water. The dilution: in a shallow basin, mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 1 part warm, not hot, distilled water. You want enough liquid to completely submerge the toes and the nail bed. The soak. Submerge your feet for 15 to 20 minutes. The observation. Within seconds, you will see a white, fizzing foam forming around the edges of the nail and beneath the nail plate. That is the sensory proof of the lytic explosion. That is the oxygen atom detaching and physically shredding the fungal cell wall. The mechanical finish. After the soak, dry your feet thoroughly with a clean paper towel. Do not use a cloth towel that you intend to reuse. You are disposing of the fungal spores. Frequency. Repeat this once per day for 14 days. In a real-world test in 2022, a 64-year-old contractor in Ohio named David, who had struggled with yellow brick nails for 18 years, followed this exact $1 protocol. After 3 weeks, the deep yellowing didn't just fade, the dead nail detached, and for the first time in nearly 2 decades, a clear, pink, healthy nail bed began to emerge from the matrix. He spent a total of $3. I need to be honest about the limitations. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizer. If you have open sores or deep cracks in the skin, it will sting. It can also temporarily blanch or whiten the skin around the nail for about 30 minutes. This is harmless. It is simply oxygen trapped in the upper layers of the dermis, but it is a reminder that you are dealing with a powerful reactive force. Compare that $1 investment and a minor sting to the $2,000 many people spend on specialist consultations for what is, at its core, a simple atmospheric imbalance. The industry prayed you would never look in the brown bottle. The Kalawaya knew it, soaking the feet of their messengers in the high, lightning-charged pools of the Andes. Sir Joseph Lister knew it, applying the bubbling purifier to the wounds of 19th-century Londoners. The Roman legionnaires knew it, bathing their tired, damp feet in the reactive waters of the Germanic frontier. Your great-grandparents knew it, reaching for the brown bottle in the medicine cabinet before a $40 billion industry told them it was obsolete. Today, a $24 billion annual revenue stream depends on you never learning any of their names. It depends on you believing that a law of chemistry requires a $150 patent to function. This knowledge did not disappear. It was priced out of your awareness. It was buried under a mountain of marketing and synthetic molecules designed to keep you in a cycle of dependency. Chemistry does not care about brand strategy. The H2O2 molecule does not expire its effectiveness, and the oxygen in our atmosphere has never charged a licensing fee. Nature is the only pharmacy that doesn't need a middleman. If this video changed how you look at the yellowed nail or the expensive solutions in your cabinet, share it now. Every share sends this to someone the industry prayed would never find it. We are not just sharing a hack. We are preserving a piece of human history that was nearly erased for a profit margin.